Just show you sort of what's going on here. So yeah, this is just looking down towards the east along the we have a bed of potatoes here, and that goes pretty much to where stuff doesn't grow very well anymore, which close to that fence things kind of peter off. I'm not sure exactly what is causing that. But you do remember there were pigs on this field up until about early January of this year. They had kind of been rotated around and secluded to different areas and eventually harvested and put in the freezer. But yeah, we have two beds of beans here, and these are all going to be for shelling and dry beans. They need one more little bit of weeding on them, but overall that hasn't been too bad. These were both put in like in mid-July, so that was pretty cool that they are able to come up and produce a fairly good crop, even in a July planting. I have some recycled smart pots here that I just put some basil and some eggplant and stuff in to sort of anchor the ends of the rows, and basil just seems to love smart pots, so I figured I'd just do most of my basil like that this year, since it kind of seems to not really like the heavy clay soil that we have here. Now here we have sort of a overgrown Three Sisters planting, so that's corn, beans, and squash, and the corn has turned into just more of a trellis for the beans than anything else, and you can see some of the corns have actually gotten so heavy with the beans that they've flopped over and basically are being smothered. But I still got a good harvest of corn off of them. That was nice to put in the CSA packages, and definitely just mountains of squash. And I'm basically going to let most of the beans now just mature and have those as shelling and dry beans, because I just love having beans to cook up in the winter, and it's always been a dream of mine just to be able to have a big jar and cook some up every now and then. Now this row here is sort of a companion row to the Three Sisters. So it's these giant native sunflowers that we saved seed from last year, replanted them, and in here we also have a native Navajo squash that we saved seed from, as well as tomatillos, beans, and what else? That's pretty much it. There's some weeds and stuff coming up in here, obviously, but it's not too bad. I pretty much just weeded it one time this season, and the sunflowers got so big and started shading everything out so well that the weeds haven't really been an issue in here. And yeah, we got lots of climbing beans coming up. You can see some red runner beans here. For some reason those haven't really set many beans at all, but I do have some lingua di fuoco climbing beans in here, and a few other ones that are really producing really nicely, so that's been awesome. Moving down to the next row, we have, this is peppers for about 35 feet here, and it's 3 rows grouped together pretty tight, but all different varieties. And I got to tell you, I'm really pleased and excited with how the peppers have done this year. This is kind of the pepper crop I've always wanted. And some of the varieties I'm really excited about especially are these Sugar Rush Peach. They're an ají type, so like a Peruvian, Bolivian, sort of the Andes area. This is the predominant type there, and they're just so incredibly sweet and flavorful, and they still have a good heat too, and they're like, taste more like a tropical fruit at first than a pepper, and then they just hit you with this real nice, brief but intense heat. And yeah, growing the peppers on this woven black plastic has really been a good thing, I think. I haven't even had to really water them a ton. Just kind of, most things in this garden really pretty much get watered like once a week, is what I shoot for. Not too much more than that, just because, well, then that's all I do really. You can see the sunflower, Three Sisters type comes all the way down here. There's a real nice pumpkin in there. There's tons of squash hiding all in here, along with the zucchinis over there. Over here we have a nice row of cucumbers that I've started trellising up on these on this hog panel. They don't seem to like to climb the hog panel on their own all that well, but I do just sort of wind them up in there to get a little height on them. You can see it's been really productive. There's a lot of nice cucumbers in there right now, actually, that I got to harvest. That's just in the past 2 days, but I'll have to harvest those. Wild tomatillos coming up just on their own everywhere, which is always nice. We don't even plant tomatillos really. We just kind of let them come up and harvest them later in the season. This is a tomato row on the black plastic, and it's been setting fruit pretty well. Tomatoes are taking a little while to ripen this year. I'm not sure what's going on with that. This one's got a little blossom end rot. That's a result of calcium deficiency from uneven watering, but that's really pretty much the only one I've seen that has it bad. So I'm pretty happy with that. And this should be a pretty nice little crop in here. You can see I have a couple beds that have been covered up for the last, well, this one has been like maybe a month. That's trying to smother out all the weeds. That one's ready to be moved, that black plastic there. And we'll shift that down to over there, get this planted with one last like cool season winter crop. Sorry, I had to close out my low battery signal. Hopefully my battery lasts a few more minutes and be able to show you sort of the rest of the garden here. So yeah, we had the peppers here, saw those. Where are we at? Oh yeah, cucumbers, and then this row is shared by some okra, and that's really doing pretty nice now. It took a while to really get going, but I do think it likes the black plastic as well, and starting to produce now, so that's nice. I had it planted denser in here, but something happened. A few of the plants didn't come through like I thought they would, and definitely would have liked to have a little more okra because I think it could sell pretty well, but not the end of the world. Now this next row here you can see is all tomatoes, and that's about, I don't know, 40 foot or so of tomatoes that are all on a sheet mulch. So that's like a cardboard sheet mulch though, as opposed to the plastic. So that's like thick layer of cardboard laid down with straw put down on top of it. There's compost underneath that, and then we plant directly through the straw. And yeah, that's been one of my favorite ways to grow tomatoes for a while. I wanted to do some on the black plastic to kind of see how they compared, but overall these ones on the straw sheet mulch have been just looking really good. There's an amazing fruit set on them right now, and any day now they're just going to start ripening like crazy, and I'm going to have way more tomatoes than I know what to do with, hopefully. Got more some more peppers here. You can see they're all have a really nice fruit set on them, some turning colors, and yeah, I'm really excited about these are all saved seed, basically from just a big jar of chilies that I've been growing year after year, and I just keep adding to the jar, mixing up all the seeds, and then I just start a big flat of basically totally randomized chili seeds. And yeah, that's been actually a pretty nice mix of different chilies to come out of that. You can see here, these are some cayennes that we've been saving seed from for some years now. over and over again, and they just get so big and they're pretty sweet. You can almost, they're like a really mild cayenne. You can almost eat them as like fresh pepper, just as like a snack pepper. You see the edges are getting pretty weedy here. Unfortunately, I was supposed to be able to use a riding mower here, and that ended up breaking earlier in the season, and it kind of got away from me, and now it's like, well, I need a bush hog to come in here and clean it out. But here's, I'd say, one of the things I'm happiest about for this season, and I'm really pleased that we're getting some production out of it, which is this row here. This whole bed is planted to various types of melons, and we got cantaloupe. It was Imperial 45 cantaloupe. We got Minnesota midget cantaloupe, Charleston gray watermelon, a few other sort of random watermelons and honeydews that are really actually pretty productive this year. And I'm growing them on the black plastic. For the first time I'm trying this. Actually, I mean, it's really my first time ever growing like a serious row of melons and actually like doing it right to some extent, and it's paying off. I think I'm gonna have a lot of good melons, and I'll show you some of these here. These are those Imperial 45 cantaloupe, and yeah, I mean, they're seems like each little hole or each hill in the plastic has about 5 or 6 melons on it. And then we have this is the Minnesota midget, and these were a later planting. They're a very short season cantaloupe. So I did 3 hills of these planted, like, I think it was first or second week of June. And those are actually looking pretty good. I mean, they don't get much bigger than that, so I'm anticipating that they'll start ripening up and basically be ready here within, the next couple weeks. And they're really incredibly productive short season crop. If you ever want to try your hand at cantaloupes, that's a good place to start. Now here we got some watermelon. You can see a few different fruits coming on in here. This is probably the biggest one. I'm pretty excited about that. One of the bigger ones I've ever grown, and definitely just as far as overall melon count, this is the biggest crop I've ever had. We counted like 14 or 15 or something, and these are getting so close. I'm almost thinking I might try to bust one open today and see how they're looking. You can see, if you get close down here, there's a little tendril that comes off the junction of the fruit and the stem, and that's all dried up and brown, and that's a pretty good indication that your fruit's going to be ready, if not now, very soon. Still kind of hoping it dries up like a little closer to the stem, but overall there's nice yellow, creamy yellow bottom starting to happen there, so I think these are getting pretty close. And yeah, I got some more various like native honeydew types coming on down here, which are actually not doing too bad, and some kind of weird cantaloupe. These all are like native seed saved melons, so not sure yet what they're gonna be like, but definitely excited to try them out, and they're growing pretty well. I think this one's, I mean, it's still pretty hard, so that'll probably be a little while yet, but yeah, looking pretty good. Got a few good ones coming on, so excited about that. We do have some more beds over here that I had planted out earlier in the season, and some of them still have a few things in them, but overall they just, like, once I got that initial crop out of them, they got so weedy. It was really tough to get them like beat back and under control again. So I'm basically kind of like slowly mulching them and like trying to reclaim them, get the weeds beat back, and those will be planted next season using the black plastic to sort of rein in the